I am going to introduce myself. I'm Jerry Stengel. I'm the founder of Engineer and the host for today's session. Over the last couple of years, Mark has been a great professional associate of mine and has become a personal friend as well. Mark comes up through the banking industry, has his own cash flow management company, works with both for-profit companies and nonprofit organizations. The company that is aimed at nonprofits for cash flow is eGiving. And through marketing his business, he started using LinkedIn and became an enormous devotee to LinkedIn and started evangelizing about it and teaching.
How many of these we've done together, Jerry? I think I've stopped counting at this point. This will be the third time today I'm teaching LinkedIn. So, wow. And I've got one more after this. So today's a big LinkedIn day for me. What got me into LinkedIn was that I really love working with people. I love helping people. I love helping the nonprofit sector. And it turns out we have one person who is almost ready to find a new job and someone who's in a job, and then people like Jerry and me who are self-employed. And the beautiful thing about LinkedIn is it accommodates everybody's needs. And so it's changing. It's morphing, it's maturing with the IPO and all the money they have now. They are adding a lot more emphasis on the vertical that they're calling LinkedIn for Good. And let me tell you, Jerry and I have been involved with people at the guy at the highest level of LinkedIn for nonprofits, and there's a lot of good things coming. So you're learning this at a really good time. It's best to get it under your belt now because the changes are going to come are going to be really quite impressive. So I think what we'll do if I do plan to cover that topic, that question that you are asking, I will just say, just hold the thought and we'll get to it at some point. At the end, just let me know if I still haven't covered it enough for you, okay?
Okay.
Off we go. First of all, if you forget everything I teach you today and only remember one thing, the goal of using LinkedIn is to establish the who you are. Why do you stand out amongst everybody else you're competing with? Whether you're competing for a position, whether you're competing for donor dollars, whether you're competing for business proposal, whether you're bidding on product or services. You want to be the only yellow guy in the sea of blue guys because everybody else has a really terrible LinkedIn profile. This is a very few that have a really great LinkedIn profile. And the more you're able to differentiate yourself from everybody else, the more people take notice of you and the more valuable you are to each other's networks. So you really want to be this guy in the middle who looks different, acts different, and is telling his or her own words, why choose me? What is it about me? What values do I bring to the table? What are my street credentials? Why is anybody going to be interested in me? So please recall that, and I'll come back to this over and over again as we speak. And when you created your LinkedIn profile, and I think both Kate and Beth have a profile, and it's of different levels and different degrees of completion, but everybody has a public profile. And when you Google yourself, and I suggest you Google yourself frequently, if you have a 100% complete LinkedIn profile, you've done 7 different things that will give you 100% completion in the eyes of LinkedIn, it puts you at, excuse me, the top of the Google search results for your name. And that's very good because these days we're all very attention deficit. People have exactly 1.5 seconds to look at Google. They look at the first 1, 2, maybe 3 or 4 search results, and if you are the top search result in somebody Googling your name, that will be a very good thing for you. And why is that? Because on LinkedIn, you're telling all about yourself in your own words. It's not like some of the other social media platforms where other people can add their words to your platform. On LinkedIn, it's all your own words. If somebody else adds something, it's all by your approval. For example, if somebody recommends you, you've pre-approved what they say on the recommendation. So no one else can say anything on LinkedIn that would reflect poorly on you. So that's why where if you're looking for a job or if somebody wants to meet you for the first time and they Google you, you're able to be seen at the top of the Google search results, and you're showing yourself in your own best foot forward. The public profile, which you began to fill out really not even knowing when you started LinkedIn, divides up between a very summarized, very high-level version of your private profile, which is your public profile. And the difference between your public profile and your private profile is your public profile will show your experience in education, which is really like a high-level resume, but the public profile will not show the names and who you're connected to. It doesn't show presentations and groups that you're involved with and papers that you've written and all the things that you work so hard to protect so that no one else will use your material and no one else will try to connect to your connections without your approval. So I'm going to show you a client I have. This is her public profile. She's a nonprofit executive director out in San Francisco, and she's nice enough to let us all see this. Her name is Barbara Wenger. She actually was one of the people on one of our webinars way back about a year or so ago, I guess, Jerry. And Barbara had a really, and she'll admit it, so I can say it, she had a really terrible LinkedIn profile. And she and I worked together over a series of weeks, and we got her LinkedIn profile really whipped up to a terrific, compelling profile that really tells, in her own words, who she really is. And as I got to know her, I began to really realize that the more she wrote, the more she told about herself, the more she was coming out of her shell. And she admits this too. So it's really quite an interesting story, and she's a personal friend and a good colleague and just nice enough to show us her profile. So Barbara put her picture there, as you see, very, enticing picture. She looks friendly. I love the face. She has underneath her name a 120-character LinkedIn profile headline, where she's located and what industry she's in, and a little bit about the past, where she's been, a little bit about her education. She has 4 recommendations. You can't see those recommendations. She has 194 connections, now more. You can't see who she's connected to. She has 3 websites. Those are all clickable. You can go in and see her websites. And a summary material about who she is. Bulletized, easy to read, full of search engine optimization words. You really want to do something like this. And we'll go a little bit deeper into this in a minute. But anyway, you can't get any personal information about Barbara from this. That's because if you Google Barbara's name, this is what you'll see if you click on the LinkedIn search result. If you connect to Barbara, like I'm connected to Barbara, you see a lot more about her. You see a lot more detail. And you get to know a lot more about why would you want to get to work with her? What would you want to know? What is she telling about herself? You also see her connections, who she's connected to. And she has a very wide array of very interesting connections, primarily in San Francisco. She knows the nonprofit world in San Francisco really well. She's been doing it for 20-odd years. She knows everybody in nonprofits in San Francisco. She's been awarded many, many awards by her peers. She knows the business. So if you need to know something about a nonprofit in San Francisco, to me, she's the one I go to. That's because I've gotten to know her. You can also read her recommendations, which are absolutely sterling, and they couldn't be better. People love her, adore her. You can see her videos about the work she does, her white papers, her slide presentations, all the things she's done. So let's look at her private profile. It looks a lot like what you saw before, but it's got this light blue box around it to differentiate it graphically, and it's since changed since you've seen this on LinkedIn. But you see in the middle the number of connections she has, 194. You can click on anything in blue writing on LinkedIn, and you can drill in deeper. So you'd be able to see all 194 of her connections if you're connected to her. And the concept here is that if you connect to somebody on LinkedIn, anybody. There are people who disagree with me, some are even on this phone call. Right, Jerry? And there are...
Yes. So there are different philosophies. I'm a little looser than Mark is.
Well, you're more accepting than I am. I only connect to the people I know, but we'll get into that later. Anyway, you get to see more information. You see her Twitter handle, you see a public profile URL, and if you were to go into her LinkedIn profile and go down below summary, which you've already seen, you will see a lot more material. Now, we're going to look at Barbara's new profile versus her old profile a little bit later. And you get to know a little bit more about Barbara, and again, thanks to Barbara for letting us see this, but the concept here is this private profile is letting you connect to her, letting you send her a message. You can recommend her. You can send her profile to somebody else. You can see all the things that she wants only her friends to see or her close colleagues. I hope I've made that clear. Right now we're only talking in the public and private profile sectors about individuals, not about their agencies or their organizations or their companies, but just about the individual itself. There's another place to talk about the agency. Well, that's a company profile page. We'll talk about that a little bit more. So let me ask, any questions so far? Anybody have any observations, or is everything clear?
Yeah, so far.
Good. Okay, off we go. Whoops, too far. All right, so when you're writing your profile, both for your public profile as well as your private profile, especially your private profile, you want to be sure that your profile contains the following. One is, we were talking about Barbara's headline, something that tells really who you really are. Not that she's executive director of the organization that she's in, but really, what is she all about? Let's go back a screen and let's look at what she wrote. And we worked on this together. And she came up with this on her own. And I was absolutely thrilled that she wrote this. A social change agent, a seasoned community transformer, and a creative visionary. And do you see how much richer that is than executive director community grows? So this really gets to the heart of what does Barbara want to convey about herself. You get 120 characters, including spaces. That's really hard, folks. And a lot of us wrestle with that. So as you're changing, Beth, as you're morphing into the next stage in your career, you want to begin to tell people where you are right now. And I can show you offline, if you want to talk about this offline, about what people who are in between jobs might want to say about who they are, and convert it into something that, as somebody gets your resume and wants to look into more about than just your resume, who you are on LinkedIn, they can read more about you. Or for Beth, about what do you want to convey, not just about what you're doing for your organization, but really what is it you stand for? What are you trying to do and convey about who you really are? Okay? Now, update frequently. Tell people what you're doing. Tell people articles that you're reading that you want to share with other people. Tell your connections what events you're going to. Just give back some information. Today, I gave an update about Seth Godin, and I'm a big Seth Godin fan. He has a new book. It's just been published. It's actually an electronic book. He's left the world of paper books. And I sent that out to the 1,300 people I'm connected to on LinkedIn because I know many of them didn't know about his new book. I wanted to be the guy who conveyed that information. I'm giving to my community a valuable information I think that they might be able to use in their everyday or their professional lives. I spoke to a group this morning. Last night I gave an update speaking to a group of 25 chief executives about how to make LinkedIn really work better for their companies. And it's all about bottom up and top down in LinkedIn, that in a company or a nonprofit, and Kate, take this back, Beth, take this back to your executive director. Everybody in your nonprofit has to have an amazing LinkedIn profile so that everybody looks the very best they can, because donors have very short attention spans, and they're evaluating your organization very quickly based upon the people that man or populate that organization. So you want to be absolutely sure that everybody's LinkedIn profile looks the very best it can, yours and your executive director and even the receptionist. Everybody, top to bottom.
Okay. Mark, this is Kate. Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
I'm sort of by habit a furious note taker.
Okay.
So I'm wondering, will this presentation, the slides, be available after we speak?
Yes, right after we're done here, the slides will be available, and about a day later, Jerry will send you the audio recording.
Phenomenal. Okay, thank you so much.
Just ask that you hold it to yourself, because you paid good money for this, and I want to be sure that people get the value based upon what they're willing to recommend. Okay?
Sure.
Yeah, so you'll get this. And both of you, certainly, we should connect on LinkedIn. I have a private users group called Connect to Collaborate Users Group. You can join the group, and you will get other material from me that my regular 1,300 people do not get.
Okay.
So it's sort of a nice to have. We keep in contact with each other. I send material, and everybody else, and a lot of people in the group send other material to the group. So we've created a community within a community.
That's great.
Now, as you're updating, think about people that are reading your updates. You can simultaneously tweet the updates at the same time. Jerry does it the other way. She tweets, and then she updates her LinkedIn profile. I do it the other way. I put it in my LinkedIn profile, and I update my tweets. Doesn't matter, so long as you do it with 140 characters.
So I just want to add in, so everybody understands my philosophy. I do nothing automatically. So I don't have, let's say we're talking about my blog post, I don't have my blog post feed into LinkedIn or Twitter. I write very customized messages for Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter based on the audience in each social medium.
And she does a marvelous job of this, folks. Follow this.
Why I was saying it, but it's a philosophy of personalization, and I can do it better if I can control it.
And what have I've known you 2 years now?
Yes.
I've learned a tremendous amount from Jerry and the work she's done. So I really recommend you get on her blog, you follow her tweets, you get on her Facebook page, and certainly connect to her on LinkedIn, because she'll connect to you. Right, Jerry?
Absolutely.
Okay. Very good. All right, so while you're rewriting your profile, whether your life is changing or your job is changing, or just you decided that you don't like what you have there and you're rewriting your profile, give a lot of thought that you're using in your websites. Take those keywords from your search engine optimization and carefully write them in English, in easy to understand English, into your summary, experience, and specialties. So why? Why do that? Because you can be found in a LinkedIn search based upon your keywords. So if you're in education, if you're in Jewish education, these are keywords people are going to try to find you. You might make the first cut of 1,500 people that come out of the LinkedIn search, and then you might make the second cut and the third cut, and I'm going to show you an example of how that's really, really important. And then
again, just to add on to that, Kate, for you would use terms like evidence, evaluation, research, not just one word, so that no matter what anybody was keyword searching on, you would be combining it with nonprofit evidence, nonprofit evaluation, nonprofit research, so that when somebody keyword searches, they're going to find you.
Right. Just ask your web designer or figure out what your search engine words are. Go to Google and do a search for keywords in your field, and you will be blasted back with hundreds. Pick the ones that make the most sense for you. Work them and knit them into your summary experience and specialties, so that when somebody does a search for people in a certain field, people in New York City within 10 kilometers of 10020 who have experience of such and such years and have these keywords, you will be found. And this is LinkedIn now is 120 million people. It's nothing but a big database at the end of the day. And you can do database searches on LinkedIn, and you can mine the most incredible people and people doing the most unbelievable things. You just have to know how to use it. But it's not going to find you unless you have a really great summary experience and specialties. And then use a company profile, and this primarily Beth, for your organization to talk about what the organization does. Not about what you do, that's for your personal profile, but a company profile for what your organization does. And I'll show you some good organization profiles in just a moment. And have a great picture. Who are you? What do you look like? We'll get to that in just a moment. Okay. Keywords. There's a guy out in Cleveland named Nate Kievman. And you see the link on the bottom. And I strongly recommend you sit through one of his YouTubes to learn about keyword optimization on LinkedIn. Especially, Kate, if you're going to be out in the market. Great way to get found. I have friends who've been found for all sorts of reasons. They've been offered trips all over the world to make presentations. They've gotten business in ways that they had no idea they would be found. It is a very, very strong tool. And headhunters are using this right now almost more than resumes.
Wow.
I saw a headhunter this morning. He reiterated something I already knew from a couple of years ago, and that is when resumes come in, mostly they feed them through machines to look for keywords. The resume has the most keywords, rises to the top. Then what they do is the ones that rise to the top, they look on LinkedIn. What is that person all about? How do they express themselves? Because all resumes pretty much at the end of the day look and taste and feel about the same. People tell about themselves. It's really interesting the way the world is changing very, very quickly. Okay? So go to that link. It's terrific. Terrific guy out there. He does a very good job. Great blog, by the way. So why is this stuff so important? Well, your name, your picture, your 120-character headline is really important because as you give of yourself on LinkedIn, and in this case, Andrea Nierenberg, a friend of mine, put some material out on LinkedIn. If you mouse over her name, this bubble pops up. Do I want to know more about Andrea based upon not so much her picture, but based upon how she describes herself in 120 characters? So if it just said president of the Nierenberg Group, you would not know what she does. But when you read that she's a relationship marketing networking consultant, she is definitely well recognized, speaker, author, search advisor, communications trainer. Now you know what she does. And if you're really stimulated by the work she does, you click on the blue view profile, and you'll see her public profile. If you want to get to know her and connect to her, and she connects back to you, you'll see her private profile, where you'll see all the people she's connected to, and believe me, she's connected to terrific people. And all the work she's doing, and the books she's written, and the presentations she's made, and the blog she writes, and all that, it's all there on LinkedIn. So there's amazing things going out there. You just have to know where to look. Here's a couple of other really great headlines. Rebecca Bryan out in San Francisco. She is, in parentheses, revolutionary, or is she evolutionary in chief? I love that. Phyllis, she's a thought leader in my world, a game-changing workplace intergenerational relationships facilitator. Wow. She tells it in like 6 words. That's her field. Anita, a visionary leader, a donor and community engagement person, program developer, and she's also a LinkedIn trainer. All of these are great friends. They're great colleagues. They tell in 120 characters or less really who they are, not what they do for their organization. There's another place for that right on that same bubble and elsewhere in LinkedIn. You see where I'm getting at? I want you to really give more material. Think hard about what you want to convey. Okay? Questions?
Not now.
Okay, here we go. Don't do this. Sandy Smith, owner of Smith Advisors. Not only do I not know what Smith Advisors does, I don't even know what she's all about, or he's all about. This is not good bubble. No picture. I don't see a wonderful smiling face of somebody I want to get to work with. I don't see really anything here that makes me want to click on that view profile. So it's always best to teach about what's good and then contrast it with what you shouldn't do, so don't do that. Okay, off we go. The LinkedIn applications are free. Most people don't know to look for them or where to look for them. And I noticed, I think, on both of your profiles that you haven't really taken advantage of these.
Right.
Lot of marvelous stuff here. They're
Right.
adding new applications all the time. They've added 3 or 4 in the past week. We're going to talk about these. The more applications you add to your LinkedIn profile, the more you get to show about yourself.
Are they, I'm sorry, can I ask you, Mark, are these part of the LinkedIn profile for sort of your average bear, or are these the ones that you have to pay for monthly to build into your profile?
Everything I'm showing you here is free, available to you through your free LinkedIn profile.
Excellent.
This is the piece of the iceberg below the water. This is unbelievable stuff. As an evangelist, I love to talk about the stuff most people don't know about. But I always start the presentation about the things people don't do as well as they could, to go on to do better. But once you start seeing these applications, your wheels are going to start churning. You're going to start thinking, oh, wow, I could use that for this, or I could show this on this application. I want you to know about this stuff because most people don't even know where to look for it. So what you would look for is you go to that More tab and you click it and these things fall down. Now yours may look much like this or not much like this depending upon the applications that you've loaded. Any application you've loaded is below that horizontal line. So you may not have loaded any of these applications and yours may say Answers, Learning Center, Upgrade My Account, Get More Applications. Click on Get More Applications and get going on this stuff. It is unbelievable stuff. Okay? Here's some of the apps, just a few of them, about half of them. You can poll people. You can poll your donors, poll your volunteers, poll people who attended an event. What did you like about it? What could we do better? Did you like the food? Did you like the speaker? Can you tell other people about us? How would you suggest we do things differently? Open-ended questions as well as closed-ended questions on polls. Very, very powerful, all completely free. You can go down to the bottom. Under WordPress, you can add your blog. Every posting you have on your blog will appear to everybody you're connected to, and every blog posting your connections have will appear on your LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn and Google presentation. It's like putting material in the cloud. Google holds it. It's available for people. It allows you to give them an ID and a password, a password to share the material, or you can share it with everybody. If you're creative in 2- or 3-dimensional work, creative portfolio display is great. I have a lot of clients who work a regular day job, but on the side they're photographers, sculptors, artists, fabric designers. They've used creative portfolio display to add more depth to their personal profile about really who they are. The so many of these things. It's unbelievable. Reading lists by Amazon, and I don't like that it's by Amazon necessarily as much as I like that it's really easy to find books that are available so everybody can look at the same book listing at the same time. And I happen to know people who read books and edit them before they come to publication, and they might sort of slip in that I'm editing a book about this, that, or the other. Keep an eye out. It's coming out in August 2012. And that's how Andrew Nierenberg's book came to me. I heard about it. It's called Networking for College Students, and it has a lot to do with teaching college students how to use networking and LinkedIn and social media for their next step in their career. All these things, it's all about the network. It's all about giving and taking, and giving more than you receive. I'm a big proponent of it, and I know I don't have to convince you guys of it. Two of the best applications to show your stuff is SlideShare and BoxNet. Now let's talk about SlideShare on the left, strictly for PowerPoint presentations. So Beth, Kate, do you do PowerPoint presentations? Have you done it in your past experience?
Yes.
So
Yes.
if you have the rights to show them, and this is primarily talking to Kate because you're going to leave, if you have the right to show that as an example of the quality of the work you've done, that also augments your profile, so somebody might be more apt to hire you for an educational position. And Beth, if you've used the presentation to get audiences to donate, things like that that tells the story of your organization, this is a great way to add some additional depth, additional color to your profile. You can send that out. It will create a URL for you. You can embed it into an email. You can embed it into your blog. You can send it out to people to review. The one I have on the left is a very high level, I think it's only 32 slides, about all the different online payment services I offer for business and nonprofit. It's very, very general. It's not designed to sell anybody as much as to give an overview. And so when I meet somebody for the first time and they say, send me an email and tell me what you do so I can look at it and come back to you with intelligent questions, I'll send them this and they'll go through it and they can see where I'm coming from. What am I doing?
Okay.
Box on the right side is for slide presentations and all other media. Now I'm going to take a little bit of a step aside. LinkedIn does not connect to Windows documents. You have to convert Windows documents to a URL, to a web format. Then you can add it to LinkedIn. And that's what BoxNet does really, really well. It will take Excel spreadsheets. It'll take anything that Windows will produce. You upload it to the cloud, to BoxNet. You have a free account on BoxNet through LinkedIn, and you can leave that stuff there, and you can determine who can see it, and when they can see it, you can take stuff down, you can update it, you can put stuff at it. And it accepts all multimedia, including, like, I have a 16 gig long interview I did, which became a podcast. And that's a monster. You can't email stuff like that. It's too big. But you can easily email a link to your BoxNet where that podcast resides, and they can open it up right there. And you get a notification that someone reviews it, but you don't get to find out, unless you pay for LinkedIn, who opened it up. But it's a pretty safe bet that if you send an email at noon with a BoxNet URL, and they open it in about 20 minutes later, then that you pretty much have identified who's opened that BoxNet file.
Wow.
You can use it that way. It's really quite powerful stuff. I really like it. I have a lot of good stuff on there. Some stuff is open to the public, and some stuff is very, very privately held and just for individual use. Both of these two primarily are the most powerful of the apps. Get out there and use them. You will find them to be really beneficial. Here's another app that I really like. I just loaded an event this morning. I'm going to be doing another public speaking event in Danbury, Connecticut for a real estate firm. You tell people about events, whether you're attending or you think it's just worthwhile for other people. So who's speaking? What are they talking about? Tell other people by saying, hey, you might want to know about the Jersey City Meetup for Financial Technology Professionals. Now, that was last July, but you can update this and you can search these events by keyword, by location, by subject matter, by who's going. It's, again, this update is available this app is available, and it's good for search engine, for finding people. Now, I met a really great business partner at an event where I said, I have to be at an event early because the traffic's just really bad getting to where the event is located. I'll be the guy in the coffee shop with the red tie. Please look for me because we've been chit-chatting a little bit on LinkedIn. I know you're coming to the event because I see you've said you're coming to the event on the event application. Let's sit down and have a cup of coffee. Turns out he knew Jerry. It's a small world. It's just the way the world operates. That made me a lot more closer to him, and since he and I shared Jerry in particular, it reacquainted Jerry with him. And it's unbelievable. So at the end of the day, I'm convinced that everybody knows everybody, and this is just a tool to find out who you don't know and to get to know them. This is great marketing, viral marketing for an event that you're going to go to or you think others should know about that they should attend.
Is there, back to the events, this is Beth speaking. Is this just to let folks know what's happening and not necessarily a means to register or enroll for that event?
You can attach a URL to the enrollment right into the event page on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So, yeah, I do that for a lot of the webinars and virtual courses for Vengineer. And you can do it for any event.
Okay. Thanks.
You can tell people how much it costs. You can talk about the venue. You can give a Google map of where the venue is located. You can do amazing things on this. And it takes about, I timed it, 1.5 minutes to list an event. And it doesn't take a lot of work. So you want to let people know. Then if you see an event you like, you can register and then tell people, I'm attending. And when you say you're attending an event, it goes out to all your connections to say that Beth is attending the Jersey City Meetup for Financial Technology Professionals, if that's indeed the event you're attending. And or if you're speaking there, if you're presenting there, it gives people an idea of how dedicated you are to what you're telling them about. It's a great little tool, mostly underutilized. It's a real shame. Blog link, you guys blog?
No.
No.
Okay. When you eventually blog.
I got to tell you, I'm so glad somebody else doesn't blog. I'm like, I don't blog. I'm like, the only thing that tweets in my house are like the birds.
Yeah.
So I'm terrified of social media.
I'm a newbie.
Yeah.
Okay. When you eventually blog, or have to blog, and you want to see their blog postings as they create them, you can see them come through LinkedIn, as opposed to having to do an RSS feed to their blog or having to go out and look at the blog by pulling to the blog. So it's another way. I'm not going to belabor this, but I have a friend whose blog was picked up, blog posting was picked up. She blogs about legal matters. Her blog was picked up by somebody who passed it over to somebody at Forbes.com.
Oh, my God.
Her blog appeared on Forbes.com as a guest blogger.
Oh, my God.
So it's that power of recognition and knowing the right people who want to do the right thing for you. They thought that her blog posting was so good that they recommended to Forbes. Forbes agreed, and they put it up on Forbes. And to tell you that her phone rang off the hook that day is an understatement. She got her 15 minutes of fame, and God bless her for getting it. She deserves it. Groups is another way to really make yourself shine. Find groups that you are interested in or groups that you can contribute to. And they may be nonprofit groups, your alumni association groups, special interest groups, local geography-based groups, business associations, networking groups. There are millions of groups on LinkedIn. There has to be plenty for you to get involved with. Now, once you decide you want to join a group, determine how frequently you want to see the contact from the group. I usually suggest that if you're trying a group out, start with weekly. If it gets really interesting, you see the digest coming through, it's something really great, and you see a lot of great stuff going on, update it to daily, and you'll see things come through as they come every day. Now, if you're not already a member of the Chronicle of Philanthropy group on LinkedIn, I strongly recommend you get on that group and see it blast your email open. Right, Jerry? I mean, it's unbelievable.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I just recently joined about a month ago. I sort of been skirting it. I just didn't have room for it. And the few people I knew who really, really I respect a lot said, you really need to be on it. Okay, you sold me. I'm on. So I got on it, and I can't believe the level and the depth and the experience and the intelligence of what people are focusing on this group. Much better than any other networking group, nonprofit group I'm in, except for Ventioneer.
Thank you, Mark. plug.
And by the way, I don't get paid for every time I mention Ventioneer. But I have this group I told you about, my private networking group for my clients, where I'm putting material out there just for my clients. So you can create a group just for friends of, Beth, of your organization. And then you can create a group. I've seen groups of just the board of directors of an organization.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Once you got into organizations, how LinkedIn is used for communication with board members or with donors, potential donors.
You can create a group, just in this case, in this instance, create a group, a private group by invitation only of just board members so they can talk about board-related items. Or just a group of volunteers who are getting ready and mobilized for your next big event. And by communicating to the group, it goes out to all the volunteers at the same time. And it copies to their email. So not only do they see it on their LinkedIn, but they see it on their email as well. But they all have to be members of LinkedIn.
Yeah, okay.
All right? It's a blast, but it's blast to LinkedIn.
Just to LinkedIn. So unless I can get consensus or full participation on the board, it may not be a means for board communication.
It may or may not be, but it's a great lever to get that last board member to join LinkedIn.
Okay.
Because I am in a lot of different networking groups, and some groups, like the group Jerry and I are in, that communicates through this group to tell people about new jobs that are from within our group or that people may know and comment. So you can use groups for any of a number of different things, different reasons, and I've given you a lot of different ideas there. It's a great communication tool. So join as many groups as you can contribute to. Now, I'm a bit of a maniac in LinkedIn because this is my job. It is limited by you can join 50 groups. And Jerry, you asked me a question about joining more than 50 groups. I still don't know the answer about that.
Oh, I did. I actually emailed LinkedIn to find out. You can only join 50 LinkedIn groups. So even if you pay to be a member, you can't go above the 50. So I'm in a unique position because of the way that I market Ventioneer. I need to go into different industries, so I need to belong to, whether it's nonprofits, socially responsible, social media, marketing organizations, and I had reached my 50 capacity. So now different people who work for me have to market Ventioneer under their name. So that's how we resolved it.
Wow. The way to get around it. Here's another way to get around it. If you're in a group that has a subgroups, you can join the group, join the subgroup, leave the group but stay in the subgroup, and you can have 55, 56, 57 different groups.
Okay.
So I'm a University of Virginia graduate. I joined the University of Virginia Alumni Association group. In that group was an entrepreneurs group, subgroup. I joined the entrepreneurs subgroup. I left the University of Virginia alumni group, and I've done that a few times. So there's a little trick that LinkedIn doesn't necessarily tell you about. I have to correct that slide, and thank you, Jerry. That's the next thing I'll need to do. You can create your own group. It's really easy. It's a really great communication tool. And then even in your own group, Beth, you can create a subgroup for committees, for task forces, for marketing, for fundraising, whatever you want to create. There's no limit to the number of subgroups you can create within a group.
And all of these groups, they can be private, so all communication is exclusive just to that group and cannot be seen by anybody else, correct?
Exactly. Entrance to the group can be made private and only by invitation.
Okay.
People ask to join the group. If they don't qualify for the group, say they're not on the board of directors, they're denied.
Okay.
The networking group that Jerry and I are in New York is by invitation only. And there's a lot of people who'd like to be just in the LinkedIn group, but there's so much good information going through the group, it is only for members of the physical group that meets in New York.
Now, what happens if somebody leaves that group? For example, we have a board of directors. I may have a member of the board who leaves the board, so is no longer eligible to be a part of the group. How are they disengaged from the LinkedIn group?
Okay.
Do they do it, or is there an administrative function that can separate somebody from the group?
When somebody creates a group, somebody is the owner of the group.
Okay.
That's your administrator. The administrator can then delegate responsibilities within the group. Again, so that group that Jerry and I are in New York, I originated the group, so I am the owner of the group. Jerry and the other members of the steering committee are the managers of the group. They have virtually the same rights that I have. So when somebody gets a job or leaves New York City and they're no longer eligible to remain in the group, I or one of the steering committee members have the ability to go in and delete them from the group.
Okay.
You can also elevate people. I could step down as owner of the group and make Jerry the owner of the group. I could demote her if she did something foolish. I mean, there's all sorts of things that you can do.
Okay.
I would never do that, but it gives you this complete control over what the group is all about.
Okay.
When you're looking for groups and you go out and you look for a group under a keyword in LinkedIn, look and see how many people are in the group. Are there certain membership requirements? You might apply to join a group, and it might take a day or two until the group manager can get back to you and say, yes, you qualify, this is what the group is all about, yes, you may join, or no, you don't qualify, I'm sorry. You can appeal that one-on-one. Sometimes it works. It's up to you about how hard you want to push.
Okay.
Search for great answers. I didn't skip a slide, did I? Let me just go back. No. Ask questions of the people in LinkedIn, and some of the best and brightest are out there. And there's this pay it forward thing that goes through social media, and especially through LinkedIn, about people really willing to help without any expectation of receiving anything back.
Mm-hmm.
So if you ask a question, you want to know, you can ask your group a question, you can ask an individual one-on-one a question through LinkedIn, or you can ask all of LinkedIn a question. You really can figure out how you want to ask a question and who you want to ask it of. When you formulate your question, use open-ended questions like, have you ever had to tackle a problem like this? Who's been successful at doing that? For example, if you're in the nonprofit world, we're doing another testimonial dinner. We're looking for fresh ideas. Has anybody had some really great success adding some new focus to a testimonial dinner? And stand back, folks. It's going to come back at you. Some are going to be great answers, and some are going to be, okay answers. But you're going to get some really good answers. It only takes one great answer to really make that event a tremendous success. So think about how you ask your questions. Here's an open-ended question. I'm in a group called Gotham in New York. It's a networking group for business professionals. So the guy who runs the website says, we're creating a new website for Gotham. Are there features you would like to see? And there's about 100 different ideas that have come in from this question. So what do you want? When people are empowered to give what they want or what they'd like to see, you will get responses. And you can also answer people's questions, whether it's in a group or you might see it in your comments that your contacts are making, connections are making. This guy, Tom, on the top left, I don't know Tom. He wanted to know if anybody out there in the TechSoup group, which is the owner of the group here, had any idea about low-cost online services that works with individuals. Does exactly that. So I made it easy for Tom. I gave Tom the website and the name Casey. So when he went to the website, there's a place to contact Casey, and the two of them were in contact about how Tom's organization could use Casey's services. You just don't know who knows what. I could tell you stories all day and all night about people who know things, who give of themselves and want to help out each other. It's just unbelievable what's out there. Okay, 3 newest things on LinkedIn, just about a week old. More are coming. I'm lucky I'm on, and Jerry as well, on an advisory committee to help the folks at LinkedIn for nonprofits understand what they could do better and what things nonprofits need to learn about using LinkedIn, much of which I'm showing you today are public. There are things that I have seen that are not yet public, and let me tell you, folks, some great stuff is coming. Some of the stuff I saw a month ago has finally come about, so here's one of them. You can self-identify skills that you have. Now, Kate, since you're in a search mode, this is a great place for you to tell about yourself. You can go through the pre-named skills that LinkedIn actually has there, or you can self-describe skills. Did we lose Kate? What happened here?
Yeah, something flashed on my computer, so
no problem.
I'm here, but I can't see the screen. So if someone could hook me up with the screen, that would be great.
Can you see it now?
Nope.
All right. I'll talk about this slide.
My request to enter has been declined. Sorry.
Jerry, we need your help. Jerry?
Maybe she disappeared with my computer. I don't know. But please.
I'm sorry. No. I muted myself. I forgot that I muted myself.
Oh.
Try again. It's flickering in and out. So it flickers in, and I don't have it's not giving me a chance to approve you.
Okay.
So just keep trying, and I'll
no problem.
I'll do it.
Okay. And again,
I'm here.
you'll get this in the recording. You can go back to this section, but I want to keep pushing forward if that's okay.
Please.
So you can self-assess your own skills. I like to think I can do public speaking pretty well. I do adult education. I do coaching. I do networking. When I created the networking skill and added it to my profile, that was a preset skill that LinkedIn already had. Makes sense, right? But then when I identified that skill as one that I wanted to add to my profile, I told it I have over 20 years of experience networking, and as a result, I consider myself expert in networking. I hope we didn't lose everybody. Everybody there?
I'm still here. This is Beth.
Okay, Kate?
Kate just logged back in. Okay.
Here I am.
Kate, is that
Thank
you?
you.
And you
we're
also
here.
have access to the screen at this point, right?
Yes, I do. I'm fine.
Okay. So it's just one of those days of technical snafus with the system.
No problem.
Okay. So I've self-identified networking as a skill I have. I chose it from a list that LinkedIn gave me a choice of. There are some on here that are not on the list that LinkedIn gives me a choice, and you can create them yourself.
Oh, wow.
And then I identify how many years experience and what my level of expertise is.
Mm.
Easy stuff. Use this. It's searchable.
Mm.
So if somebody wants to know everybody who does LinkedIn training, a whole list of people will come up. Obviously, if you were foolish enough to ask for a list of training, that would be a horrendous list. It's not going to be a good list. So figure out what skills you want to show. And you can change everything here anytime you want. Okay? That's new. New also for all of us who are nonprofit driven is the ability to self-describe our volunteer experiences and the causes that we believe in.
Oh, fantastic.
This is, I saw this this past August. My eyes bugged out of my what do you do? I'm a mentor in SCORE. It's in the economic empowerment realm. I've been doing it for a year and a half, and I can put some commentary. I'm really proud to be part of the national award-winning chapter, and my expertise is in this, and this. Fantastic stuff. I was searched for and found by other SCORE chapters. We're now talking about my giving webinars for other SCORE chapters.
Wow.
Based on this. I'm an instructor at UJA Federation for people who are looking for jobs in Westchester County. I've increased in the past year my work with them. I really believe strongly in it. I'm helping people. It makes me feel fantastic. We have several situations where people found jobs as a result of an improved LinkedIn profile, and only because of a LinkedIn profile did they get the job versus the competition. We have several situations where people have come back anecdotally to tell us that and thank us. That makes me feel fantastic. You get to choose the causes you care about from a selection. I happen to care about a lot of causes. And you get to self-name the organizations you support, some of which you see I actually physically work with, some of which I donate to time, money, like Hope for Ariang is building schoolhouses in southern Uganda as they've become an independent nation. And a very dear friend of mine is one of those lost boys of the Sudan. And I love this guy and his story. So I do everything I can to help him. So you get to say, tell about yourself. What are you doing above and beyond the professional work that you do? It's unbelievable. And if you haven't already started using this, it's something called LinkedIn Today. Remember where I showed you where to find all the applications? There's another tab called News, and you can go in and find LinkedIn Today in the News tab. Now imagine in your mind a matrix or a spreadsheet. Along the top, the industries you're interested in, and you see that in the gray bar. Marketing, nonprofit, public relations, telecommunications, retail. These are the industries I'm interested in, and many more. And you can change them as your job or your focus changes. And along the left-hand margin, the numerical cells, the sources of news that you want to hear from, you want to read about. And that you see on the right side. Online Wall Street Journal, Money, NPR, Bloomberg, Harvard Business Review, Journal of Philanthropy, you name it. They add more and more all the time. And LinkedIn will say, based upon the industries you're interested in and the sources of news you want to hear from, we're going to give you headlines and the ability to drill in to news reports that you are interested in. This is called social news. It's a joint venture between Twitter and LinkedIn. It's unbelievably powerful. And you see the red circle that it's a place where you can share any article with all of your connections, with a group, or with just individuals. So if I know that Brad Scheller, my friend that I work with on startups, would really appreciate the 7 coolest startups you haven't heard of yet, because he doesn't necessarily read Wired magazine, I can just share that and shoot that over to Brad and say, Brad, here's a great article, just saw it, just came out, perhaps you'd be interested.
So I'm sorry, Mark, can you say again how I find this on LinkedIn? Is it just
let me just go to my LinkedIn page, and I'll be sure I tell you the right way. Hold on one second.
Oh, under news. I see it. Okay.
Called News, and right underneath it is LinkedIn Today.
Got it.
Okay. And you also could share your screen. I can talk you through that if you ever want to do that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, no, I have my screen up, so I'm sort of playing around with it as you
Okay, great.
going through stuff.
This is just tremendous. And in my world, what I do is I meet new clients in different industries. I need to read about their industry before I actually sit and talk with them. I want to be sure that my services give them what they need. Or if I'm asked to go to a paper company and teach LinkedIn to their sales staff, I need to know the challenges that are going on in the paper industry right now. And I go in there and I really know what I'm talking about. What are their concepts? What are their issues? What do they wrestle with every day? This gets me up to speed very, very quickly. You don't just have to share the material. You can do a lot of really fast research. This is tremendous. You know, Kate, I hope you get an interview really, really fast in an organization, and maybe you don't understand exactly what that organization does in its industry. It's a great place for you to read about their industry.
That's fantastic.
This is so cool. It's called Social News. And just, I think it was yesterday, Facebook caught up with LinkedIn and Twitter in doing something very similar. LinkedIn's been doing this since March of 2011. So it's almost 9 months old now, 6 months old now.
Wow.
Cool stuff. So you've done all this stuff to your profile. You've massaged it. You've rewritten it. It just talks about you in just the most amazing way from your point of view. I want to add to that. How can you look more interesting? How can you get to meet more people? Well, first of all, you want to ask to meet people, ask to connect to people. Let's read from the bottom up here. The woman named Karen Perry, good friend of mine, Jerry knows her. Karen is always introducing me to new, fantastic people. In this case, to Jane. Jane eventually became a client through my connection through Karen. So, you know, it really works, folks. Jane, Karen gave me Jane's phone number. I called Jane. We had a great conversation on the phone about how I can help her raise funds electronically on her website, and Karen can help her raise money in Karen's way. The way we all work together just complements each other really well. In order for me to get started with Jane, I need to see what her past experience has been raising money so I can save her fees. And so I sent her this note after hanging up the phone with her. I made this a personal note. Now, it says optional there. I say it's mandatory. Please never send the boilerplate note, I'd like to connect to you on LinkedIn. That's just boring. If you want to connect, be boring. If you want to connect to fabulous people, show who you really are. People are evaluating you based upon how you connect to them. So when I sent this to her, she connected to me. She sent me credit card statements. She became my client. They're about to do a very big fundraiser. In fact, I was on the phone with them just today. Things are cooking along really, really well. So this is how you make LinkedIn another tool in your toolbox. It's not the only way to connect to people, not the only way to do business, get donations, find your next position, get blog postings. It is one way, but use it in new, exciting, intelligent ways, and you will have success. But say you're really interested in connecting to me. Then what you can do is you can ask for an indirect connection. So again, we've got to read from the bottom up. I sit between Lynn and Anne-Marie. I happen to know both of them, but neither knows the other. So Anne-Marie, Lynn found Anne-Marie's profile and thought that she'd be a really great person for her to get to know. Found out by looking at Anne-Marie's public profile that I am the direct connection between Lynn and Anne Marie. So Lynn sent me a note through to send to Anne Marie asking her if she would connect to Lynn. And the two connected. And it's been a terrific connection and relationship ever since last April. So there's a lot of different ways to connect with people. Another way to really look great or to make other people really look great is to give recommendations or ask people to give you recommendations. It's a two-way street. They should be really concise, meaty, glowing, not just, Jerry worked for me in 1983. She did really good projects, but, what the inference is, I really don't remember what she did, and so therefore, you read the recommendation, you say,
Right.
That's good. Who wants that recommendation? Jerry improved the bottom line by 15%, which in 1983 were $1983, and really made a direct impact to the net income of our corporation. I will never forget Jerry for that. That's the type of recommendation you want people to write for you or you to give to other people. But Jerry, remember about 8 or 9 months ago, I was doing a webinar for you, and my computer went dead?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
About 10 minutes before the webinar, and we had a lot of people on the webinar. So I called my computer guy, and I said, Rich, I don't care what you are doing or who you are working for right now. I've got 5 minutes for you to bring my computer back to life, or I'm going to have to tell everybody I can't do this webinar. I need your help. Stop. Help now. He said, hold on. He did a few things in the background, got into my computer, clicked a few things. I was back up within 5 minutes of the start of the webinar. No one knew anything. It's like what all the shenanigans that go on behind the scenes in a play. You don't know. The play opens. Everything's going great. Well, my webinar went fine. It was a really good webinar. No one knew what happened except Jerry and me. We were eating our stomachs out about whether this was going to happen. Right after I finished the webinar, I wrote Rich a recommendation. And I said something like, Rich did the impossible. He helped me in a way to make me look good, and also he looks great. You don't realize how valuable Rich is to me. And that was his first recommendation anybody ever wrote for him that he didn't ask for. And he called me up, and he's very emotional, and he said to me, Mark, that was like the first kiss. I can't believe it. These are ways, and you got to know the next time I need Rich, he's going to be there to help me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So use this. I don't say use it as a quid pro quo or use it to manipulate somebody, but use it to make an impact and to show yourself as being a great person who recommends other people and get great recommendations. So it works two ways. Again, all of this is to show how you stand out from the crowd. Why you? I'm sorry that's a little convoluted. It's supposed to say why and then the word you underneath it. That's what happens to these webinar services. But anyway, the point
It actually kind of works because it makes you think and try and figure it out. So I spent more time on that. Then maybe that's a good thing?
Maybe it is a good thing. But you're an out-of-the-box thinker, and I like that. Most people say, you got a typo on your slide.
Yeah.
So anyway, but the point I want to make is that everything you do in your personal profile on LinkedIn needs to reflect in the most positive, intelligent, unique way about why anybody would want to know more about you. And when they know more about you because they looked at your bubble where you talk about in 120 characters who you are, they will want to delve deeper and deeper. And they're going to want to see your slide presentations and your white papers and your PDFs and all the things. And you read your blog, and they're going to get so excited, they're going to pick up the phone and say, Kate, you don't know me, but I just read your entire LinkedIn profile, and I think you're incredible.
I can't live without you.
That's what you want.
Yeah, big time.
Okay?
Can I ask you two questions about this also?
Of course.
A lot of what I write that is not here, my writing for Jesna, of course, is research-based and extremely serious and, very precise and whatnot. I am all of those things. When I try to do that on these sorts of, social media websites or whatever, it comes across as someone lacking a sense of humor.
Okay, great.
So I'm wondering, in terms of formality, how formal or informal should one's profile, or can one's profile be?
Okay, I mean, it's a great question. I was coaching somebody this morning, and she asked me that exact same question.
Mm-hmm.
An attorney, and they tend to be a tad dry sometimes.
Yeah, it happens.
Not all of them, but this
Yeah.
one was trying to draw her out of her shell. And so I said to her, "You have kids?" She said, "Yep." I said, "How many kids you got?" She said, 2. I said, "What do you love about your kids?" She says, "I love my kids, I love my kids." I said, "Then put that in your LinkedIn profile." No one can say, "I can't deal with this person because she loves her kids."
Right.
If you don't have kids, you have a dog, you have a cat, you have a gerbil,
Several.
talk about the things you do.
Dogs,
Now, I bake challah. I make kosher dill pickles. I collect antique radios and television. I put that in my LinkedIn profile.
Wow.
And I'm also a New York foodie.
Uh-huh.
I put that in my LinkedIn profile. And that makes
where do you put that?
In your other interests.
Ah, I see. Okay. So when I'm looking, the LinkedIn, this is my other question. The LinkedIn page, my homepage, looks different today than it did last week.
Changes to the product every day as we speak.
Okay, because it's really messed up the entire thing. And it just gives me like one ginormous column of text. And it looks awful.
That's a little weird.
Yeah.
I tell you what, after we're done with this, do a
Mhm.
screen, send it to me. Let me see what's going on.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay?
Thanks.
And I may have to have you send that screen print over to LinkedIn. And by the way, there's a help function on LinkedIn, which is, I think, superb.
Mhm.
You ask them a question. Well, first of all, if you want to go into the body of knowledge on LinkedIn, they've got very, very intelligent answers to how do you do this, or why is this happening, why do I do that. If it's not covered in the body of knowledge, you can send them a direct message, and you can even add a PDF of what's going on in your screen so they can see it pictorially.
Okay.
Going on right now for 120 million people, they are responding within 2 hours or less than a day.
Wow.
I think that's really unique.
Okay. My other immediate question is, and I think I sent you my page or gave you access to my page before this started.
Right.
One of the things, I've been looking at other people's pages just sort of randomly, and I don't, again, when I have my profile under experience, it just sort of lists every single detail out, and I find it numbing to look at.
Yeah.
But the ones that you just showed us, like everything is kind of, like they're headlines, but everything else is sort of like just tucked away. So maybe that's a technical question too. Like I can't figure out how exactly to
what I want to do is I want to go to the next slide, and this is going to answer a lot of your questions.
Okay, great. Sorry, I didn't mean to take up
through these because I can't believe how sometimes, I don't know if you do this, but when I start talking about this, I lose track of time, and I just saw we've been doing this, for an hour and 15 minutes now?
I know, it goes so quickly.
And you're only...
I just want to add one point to Kate's comment or question. It's also in the warmth of your language.
Mm-hmm.
So just speak more warmly, less formally.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's another way of conveying that you're not this hard, you're just the facts man kind of person.
Right.
Yeah, what you can say is something like, I love my work. I believe passionately in what I do. If you look at the publications that I've shown you as an example of my work, you will see there's another side of me. That's the academic side of me.
Mm-hmm.
I am actually a lot of fun to be with, or whatever you want to say.
Gotcha.
This divorce attorney is talking about her kids. She said her interests are her kids, and in parentheses she wrote, do you have any more questions? So she really just thought about how to make it just a little bit more fun. But if you want to read her cases, you'll fall asleep before you get to page 2.
Right.
We all have certain roles to play. It's understandable.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in a job-seeking mode, you want to show that there's another side of you. You're an interesting person. You're not just about business. All right, I want to move forward, and hopefully I can answer those questions. So I'm going to show you how we renovated Barbara Wenger's profile, and sort of hopefully this will come up. This is Barbara before. You see that she used the wrong headline. She talked about her title and her function. She only had 93 connections. She had no recommendations. She showed her company website, but she actually had more websites, and she hadn't personalized her public profile. See those letters and numbers after her name? There's a place on LinkedIn where you can personalize your profile, and you can put that elsewhere in your materials, your marketing materials. And in her experience, she talks about, again, this is her personal profile, she talks about her company. Wrong, 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 wrong. So what did we do? We first put a better picture of her. We added this fantastic headline for her that she wrote herself. She came to me and says, how's this? I said, perfect, don't touch it. Leave it alone. Don't ever change it so long as this is who you are. This is so good. We worked on her past functions to really show the ones that she wanted to show. She's been in this industry a long time. You don't have to show everything.
Mm-hmm.
We got her some recommendations. We built out more connections for her. She went out and actually sought more connections because she's always too shy. I taught her how to do it. She started getting connections. People embraced her connections. She felt good. She got doing more. We specified out for her, well, first we gave her a Twitter handle connected to her LinkedIn profile. Got to move back. And then we gave her a personalized LinkedIn profile, got rid of the numbers after her name. She can put this on her business card, on her profile, on her materials. You see down at the bottom right on my slides, it's on my slides for my profile.
Mm-hmm.
We gave her a company profile page. You see the little box within the box? That box with the starburst at the top right is LinkedIn's symbol that there is a profile page for community grows, where Barbara can talk about what does her organization do. Not what does Barbara do, but what does her organization do. So we took all that stuff she had about describing who she was, and we put it onto the company profile page. Again, we gave her a great summary. What is it that Barbara does? This is chock full of keywords. Went to her web designer, got the search engine keywords, and she wrote her specialties full of search engine keywords. We rewrote her experience. We talked about what she did. Now, she's been there 17 years. I would like to have seen her write a couple more paragraphs. She didn't want to do it? Okay, that's fine. But look at what she wrote here. Under my direction, this organization inspires the lives of youth and their families to become healthy, savvy, environmental leaders. I've developed programs, recruited outstanding staff, and built community networks to fulfill our mission. Man, she says it really well in 2 sentences. I would go further. That works for her. That's fine. It's a whole lot better than what she had before. Before, she just talked about what her earlier job was. That's boring. Other than second position, she had in 98 to 05. That's boring. It talks about the company. It doesn't talk about her. We cleaned up her education. She had some errors in there. She didn't talk about where she got her bachelor's. She didn't talk about the fact that she's currently pursuing another degree. That's interesting stuff. She only listed one website, and she only belonged to one group. So we blew that out the door. Oops, I went too far. Sorry about that. She said, I have some publications. Is that important? Absolutely. And this, every publication you see that's in blue here, you can click and go directly to the link where that publication exists.
Wow.
So you can see the type of work she does. In your case, Kate, you can show the style of writing that's appropriate. And in that description of what they're about to read, you can say, this is an academic writing piece that I did for a specific project. My writing style can change based upon the project that's necessary. Show your diversity. We showed her skills. Now the skills, the way the skills appear is the old way. The skills I showed you with the bubbles is the new way, but it works the same. She's certified in sign language. She asked me, is that important? Yeah, that's important. Tell people. Because she uses sign language with the children she works with all the time. She's working on a degree right now at the City College of San Francisco. We got a recommendation. These are beautiful recommendations. Look at that first one. Barbara's ability to make impossible things happen is legendary. Man, that's cool. That's great stuff. The next one, Barbara's an extraordinary bridge builder. Rich words. Barbara's been my hero. Wow.
Wow.
I like this woman. I want her to work for my organization, or I want to give money to her organization, whatever it is that you're seeking for. She had two websites and a video page, a YouTube page. We listed them specifically. We showed her interests. She actually has a web page with her photography. We gave her more groups to join. See that one in the middle, Connect to Collaborate Private Clients Group? That's my private clients group that I invite you to join. She said, I have a couple of awards. Should I list them? Look at this. The woman's amazing. We gave her work number and her email address. The reason why these are really important here is that for the mobile applications that LinkedIn has for your mobile phone, if you put your phone number and your address here, everybody who has that mobile application can find one of two different ways to connect to you if they need to call you or email you from the field. And then I leave you with one more parting story or one more comment about what is Barbara all about. She's looking to enrich the advisory board with good folks who have good skills in fundraising. She's seeking advisors. Searchable stuff. That's a great profile. She added her blog. She added her portfolio of photography. I'm sorry, I have a mouse problem here. She lists events that are going on in her area, in her organization, in her sphere of influence. She's telling us about the books she's reading, and other people share books with her to read, and there's her SlideShare presentations about her organization. Powerful stuff. So then we said, okay, now you've told about yourself, Barbara. Let's work on your company profile page. And Beth, this is, I think, something you wanted to know about.
Yes, thank you.
So you have to wait an hour and 22 minutes, but you get it.
But it's here. It's here.
Okay. So you can create, and this is a great example I want you to look at. And there's another one out there called Waveney House, W-A-V-E-N-E-Y House in Darien, Connecticut. They have an outstanding company profile page as well. So look at what Barbara's doing. A small paragraph about what the organization does, connecting everybody who works in or with her organization, her board, her employees. A new hire is listed. There's a tab that I break out under products and services about individual segments of what her organization does, where you can talk about the organization, you put a picture there. People who've used the organization for seed-to-mouth cooking classes can recommend that service.
Wow.
It's unbelievable what you can do. Here's Waveney. W-A-V-E-N-Y. I might have spelled it wrong. They do a beautiful job of talking about who they are, about everybody's individual profile that they're connected to, and then they go to their page of services and they talk about the individual services, like they're showing their products on a website.
Right.
Great examples to use. Make it work for you.
Okay.
It's there waiting to be used. And here's a sample of, if you click Respite Services, of their service page where we were before, right here. You see it's the first one. If you click or with family members, they do a marvelous job. Okay? So how can you be found? I've got 6 minutes to talk really fast. Jerry knows I do this all the time, but here we go. Okay. A friend of mine called me. He says, you got to come to my office right now. A friend of mine is the chair of the Connecticut Audubon Society. They're looking for a new board member. Help. We don't know where to look. You know a little bit about LinkedIn. My friend says he doesn't know a thing. What do? They have 2 criteria: interest in the environment, and perhaps specifically in birding. Specifically, I didn't know that was a verb. I thought a bird. It is a verb. It's a very serious verb if you're into birds, okay? And they wanted a board member who really got social media. So people who really get social media are on, guess where? LinkedIn, right? It's a great place for this. So I went to his office. We sat in front of my computer or my LinkedIn page, and we did a search, an advanced search. And there's and Maria Semple, who's a great colleague of mine, is going to give a webinar. Was it next week, Jerry?
I'm not sure what, I'd have to look it up, but Beth, you're signed up for it.
She is the master search. She can find anything, all right? She's going to teach you how to use search. But you put in 3 keywords: somebody environmentally organized or interested, wildlife, and birding. Within 25 miles of the zip code of the organization, and involved in civic and social organizations, all LinkedIn members, speaks English, not necessarily, but that helps focus it just to probably people in the U.S. and Canada and the United States and England, just to kind of keep it contained. And boom, what did we get? We got 8,510 results. Now, you can't go to the Connecticut Audubon Society and say, here's your list, have a good time. You had to really work the list. And so you keep working down the list and doing a better search all the time. Came up with 15 names. They chose 5 people they were interested in. Of the 5, 1 woman became what I am told is the best board member they've had in 10 years. Now, if you're looking for board members, if you're looking for volunteers, if you're looking for donors, that's a great way to find them. Because great donors, great volunteers, great board members probably have a professional persona on LinkedIn. If you're looking to be found, Kate, or even Beth, if you want people to know that you're out there and what you're doing and all the hard work you're doing, you have to start somewhere. And you have to write a really great LinkedIn profile. Full of keywords, because this search engine is pulling off all those keywords in your headline update, in your headline your profile headline, in your specialties, summary, and experience. This is how you get found. My son got a call last week. Jerry, I didn't even tell you this story, I don't think. He's a senior in college. He got called by one of the largest companies in his field by a recruiter. He said to her, how did you find me? She said, you on LinkedIn. Score 1 for Dad.
I actually have a similar story. A cousin is now the CTO of Dun & Bradstreet, and the recruiter found him using keyword search. He has very esoteric skill set that fits specifically within what they were looking for, and I forgot the keywords. I am going to look it up for the presentation that Mark and I are doing on 10 ways to use LinkedIn for finding board members and fundraising, and Beth, you'll be on that one.
Mm-hmm.
It is amazing the power of keyword searching. So even a large Fortune 500 company, when they're looking for the exact, a needle in the haystack, so to speak, they're doing it with LinkedIn.
It's just an incredible tool. I can't tell you how brilliant I think this tool is, not because, and I don't get paid for talking by LinkedIn, and I don't get paid for pumping it, because every day I use it and I hear more and more stories like the one Jerry told, like my friend Andrea Nierenberg I showed you before. She answered a question in a group. Somebody saw her answer, called her up on the phone the next morning, said, "You don't know me, I'm in the group, I saw your answer on the group last night. I want to invite you to come to South Africa and be a speaker at a conference we're giving. I will fly you round trip first class. I'll give you safari at the end of it. Will you come?"
Whoa.
Wow.
Be hard
That's
about.
advice. Wow.
And it doesn't have to be something grand. It can be something as simple as a board member, or finding a kid in college who might be a good person to recruit to a company. It's really unbelievable. So people will search for you. Whoops, sorry. There's that mouse again. People will search for you. Now, here's where Jerry and I have a little bit of a change of agreement here. It's fine to accept invitations to connect, in my humble opinion, which I never keep to myself, so long as you know them. And so long as they can help you and you can help them. Often I get a request, like the one I got from Kevin, "Dear Mark W." Well, anybody calls me Mark W. doesn't know me at all. If I could drop the W, I would, but I can't, and there it is. "We share several groups and interests." That's very interesting. "I'd like to add you to my professional network on LinkedIn." That's boilerplate. "Your best friend, Kevin." So I gave Kevin a fair shake. I looked him up on LinkedIn. I realized there was nothing I could help him with, nothing he could help me with. We didn't really share several groups and interests, so I went back to him. And this is what I use is my stock answer to people I don't want to connect to. "I'm sorry, but it's my policy to link to people I've met and gotten to know or do business with. Your connection doesn't qualify. Accordingly, I will respectfully decline." Short, sweet, professional, I think. I've received these back as well. Okay, we move on. Life is not about acceptance. The reason for this is, and again, Jerry, you're going to disagree with me, and that's fine. That's what this is all about, is that if I connect to Kevin and I don't know a thing about Kevin, he could potentially abuse the privilege I gave him to see all my materials and to connect to all my friends. 2 weeks ago, a friend of mine named Nina, who will go unnamed, who was just getting back into the workforce, thought that LinkedIn was Facebook for professional people. And Nina in my LinkedIn group.
Ugh.
And I started getting phone calls and emails. Who is Nina and why is she doing this? Because this is not what this is about. And I immediately called Nina and I beat her up verbally for doing this. I educated her. "Nina, this is not what LinkedIn's all about. If you need a course on LinkedIn, I know somebody can give you that. But please stop." I apologize to all my friends. That's why even somebody you know can potentially abuse a privilege. Made me look really bad.
So
Not everybody agrees. Some people want to connect to everybody or to certain people that might potentially be in the nonprofit space or in the social enterprise space. Because, Jerry, I'm speaking for you here, that's what you're about, and that's terrific. It works for you. That's fantastic.
So right. So it's you have to decide for yourself what the way that you're going to handle your connections, and depending upon your industry, you may choose to be totally loose about it. Let's say you're a headhunter or in a real estate broker. I've chosen to be looser than Mark because, quite frankly, some of the people that take my webinars want to, show that they know people and therefore send out links to me. I think it would do more harm than good if I denied them the link to me. So that's why I do it, and it's just sort of a personal preference. Just think it through and do it the way that, is right for you.
We're in different spaces, and that's the way it works. And I will make exceptions to my own rules because I can do that. But more than not, if I get a stock request, I know that it's somebody fishing looking for a connection, and I just don't want to do that.
And I don't do it to stock requests. So you have to say that you met me through a Ventioneer webinar or virtual course or something like that. So I do totally agree that I do not respond well to a stock, request to link to me.
Yeah, I got a stock request from a guy named Moshe one day. I don't know this guy named Moshe. He just said, I'd like to add you to my professional network on LinkedIn. I sent him my stock answer. He emailed me back and copied his cousin, who's a very dear friend of mine, and said, your friend that you said would accept my connection returned me down. What the heck is going on? Well, I went right back to Moshe and copied my friend, and I said, Moshe, if you had told me who you were, I might have known a little bit more about what you were trying to accomplish. So, again, tell people where you met them, how you know them, tell them what's in it for them, like at one I did with Jane that Karen introduced me. Thanks, great phone call. I promise you this. We'll talk more. In the meantime, let's connect on LinkedIn. That type of thing. Make it personal. There are people called Lions, LinkedIn Open Networkers. They will connect to anything that moves or has carbon life form. I have a friend who's a headhunter in New York. He has 17,000 or more connections.
That's just not possible.
Fine. Works for me. But you know what? If I want to meet somebody and I find that he and I have that connection because he has so many of these connections, sometimes it really benefits me. So there is a purpose in life for Lions. Anyway, enough said on that. So I've talked a lot. I've talked over the hour and a half that I promised you. Are there any questions that I can help you with?
I don't know. I'm probably going to have like 1,000 by the time I digest it all. I mean, just playing around with some of this stuff is really interesting. Like I was, when you had mentioned the LinkedIn today, I was like, oh, this is interesting. So I clicked on one or two things. I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll put these up as things I want to follow. And now my screen is like, Kate O'Brien is following, blah, blah, blah. And it's like 40,000 publications. I'm like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I swear. I wouldn't listen to Fox News. Please, don't put it up there. So.
Well, there's a way to change that in the settings so that every make doesn't get reported to everybody you know.
Right. Well, I know. I'm just saying, like, it's listing things that I didn't check off, for example. So. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm not sure I know why that's happened.
I have a question. From the nonprofit perspective, what do you see as LinkedIn's most valuable, how it serves nonprofits the best, like the top 2 or top 3 ways that it can really help a nonprofit?
That's a great question.
I'm a big proponent about differentiating your nonprofit from all the other nonprofits because at the end of the day, in my opinion, as a business person, you're competing for the donor dollar every single day from the same person.
Okay.
So your LinkedIn profile to show your executive director and everybody beneath that executive director off in the very best light possible. As a result, the organization will look absolutely stellar. And then create a really great company profile like Waveney did, like Barbara's organization did, so that if people want to, they don't find you individually, but they find your nonprofit through LinkedIn, you're telling your story, and then they can click and look at the executive director, the director of development, profile, that, et cetera. So everything is all about branding and marketing. That's the first thing. The second thing is that if you're hiring or if you are looking to find new board members or volunteers or donors, you can do a pretty